Hey everyone, thanks for taking some time and spending it with me today. It is March 23rd. It's hard to believe, and it is time to just check in. So I'm here. As I always say, this time is unscripted. It's for you to ask some questions, to spend some time with me to get some answers. Um, if you have them, please feel free to drop them in the comment section, and I will seek to answer them as best I can. Or if you watch this later on when we're not live, please feel free to leave a message and let me know, and I will get back to you with an answer, whether it's writing it in the chat in the comments or whether it's putting it up in my next one. Also, feel free, if you have something that you'd like answered but don't want your name attached, feel free to direct message me, and I will make sure to answer that as well. But here we are. And as I posted earlier this morning, I would ask that you keep Atlanta and Denver in your prayers, the site of two mass shootings in the past week. Events like that make my heart hurt. I found it gracious today that the news I watched concerning what happened in Denver, there was no speculation. There was no, this is what we believe. It was, here's what we know. Other than that, we don't know anything. And I appreciate that because I think that's something that we need to have more of, the lack of speculation, and our ability to see what goes on, because so often these attacks are not as simple as we want them to be, and sometimes they are. But as we move through this week, we in the Christian church, we in the Lutheran church, are moving towards a very sacred week, Holy Week. We start on this coming Sunday with Palm Sunday, Passion Sunday, where we go through Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem, his death, and his last meal with his followers, with his immediate followers. I invite you to participate in those worship services. Information on that will be coming out shortly. If you haven't seen that already but would like to participate in some way, please let me know, and I will make sure that you get that information, if at all possible. But this time, all that is going on in our world and in our nation, we can see similarities in the past. We can see historical events that have taken place. Often as we look back, many of them haven't been stacked on top of one another as they are in our current world. And I think what we all need to do is to take a step back when we're exhausted, when we're overwhelmed, when we're angry. We often let our emotions get the best of us, and we lash out. And whether it's writing a nasty post or speaking, those things we can't take back. We can apologize for them, but what we post is online. What we speak to someone else doesn't leave them. And I think we need to hear that now more than ever. How do we respond? We can't force someone to respond in a specific way. We can encourage them. We can speak to them. We can hold fast to them and ask and have conversation with them, but we can't change anyone's mind who's unwilling to be open to that change. And yet, the power of God at work in the world is a power far greater than you or I can imagine. And it's something I think that we can trust and hold firm in, and recognize that though you may not believe or may struggle with your belief or are uncertain or fear, or have grown up in an understanding where God is vengeful, what we experience throughout the entire Bible, but more importantly through the last prophets and into the New Testament, is a God who seeks to restore a hope-filled relationship with God's people, with all people. And we can see that in various ways. If you look through the passages of the Bible, God seeks to work to redeem. God seeks to work to build relationship. God seeks to restore justice with the people. And it's not a justice that is easy, and it's not a justice where God says, well, hey, you know what, let's just, forget all about this. God says, you're going to have to take responsibility for what you did, for your actions. But that doesn't mean casting out, that doesn't mean destroying. That means finding a new way forward. And I think that is something that we can hold firm on. I've spoken in the past this notion from Micah 6:8, where Micah the prophet speaks of what does God require of us, and the more I dive into that section for my further studies, is those 3 points: to do restorative, my word, justice; to love compassionately, which I believe is different than loving kindness, and to walk in humbleness with God. Those 3 are very powerful, and I encourage you to meditate, to think on them, to internalize them, and I'd be curious to know what you think about those 3 concepts in your life where you're at now. What do they mean to you? What is that? How are you finding them? How are you struggling with them? Because they're big things, and they're hard to get our heads around, and sometimes they're hard to understand fully, but I don't think we necessarily have to fully understand them. And what I mean by that is, as we learn, as we grow, those things help us to seek to learn and grow more, to engage more deeply, those 3 things: to do restorative justice, to love compassionately, and to walk with humbleness, are things that we can't do alone. There are things that we do with God. There are things that we do with community. It is a way for us to build community and to grow and to engage with one another differently. It is a way to see what is going on in the world and want better, to find hope that we can be better, that you can be better as an individual, as a family, as a community, wherever it is. That we find ways to be uplifted and engaged more deeply with one another, and to seek where we are being called to go, to look forward as well. So it's about a here and now, but it's also about a future hope, and what that means for us, what that means for you, what that means for me, what that means for our nation and the world. And I think allowing that to seep in, even a little bit, allowing that to be held fast. Um, I think it's something that guides us, that uplifts us, that engages us for future for yeah, for future discussion. So I don't just do that when I preach, uh, and I think that's important. Um, I think it's important for all of us to take that in and to take that on, um, and and to recognize there will be some who refuse, who see this or that as one way and their way only, um, and you know we may not accept their choice, but we have to accept that they've chosen it, and that that is something that I think we then have to be able to find a way to let go of. Um, I've heard so many people talk, well, if I could just change their mind, if I could just, the only way someone will change their mind is if they're willing. And often the only way they're willing is when something becomes uncomfortable for them, that they experience something that opens them to a new understanding, to a new way forward. Um, and and that doesn't happen often, or as often as we might like. And to be honest, for us, it's the same way. So how do you, um, in your life, engage with that? How do you find um, some peace in that, and yet a willingness to move forward, to not be discouraged, um, that you can't change someone's mind. Um, it, what I hear through the Bible is, how do we live? How do we be a light? How do we be welcoming, um, to meet people where they are and how they are, um, and to find ways to care for them as we are able, as God gives us the ability to, yet recognizing that won't always, um, that won't always be fully the way or will work with everyone. Um, and what does that mean? What does that mean for community? How can we in the midst of our struggles and our turmoil continue to recognize God at work, recognize that even though we struggle with people, even though we don't always um, agree, um, on big picture things or on specific things, that there is, um, often, if we work at it and work hard enough, there is ways that we can find something that we can find even the smallest amount of common ground on. Um, so I leave that to you all this morning. Those are my thoughts. I would really enjoy hearing from you about those three foci: uh, doing restorative justice, loving compassionately, and walking with humbleness with God. And the language in Micah 6:8 talks about, the translation in English is loving kindness, love kindness, but compassionate, I believe, goes beyond it. And if you have questions about that, I invite you. And if you need the chapter and verse, I can give it to you. But in Luke, there's the parable of the Good Samaritan. And in the end of that, the Samaritan takes the person that was injured, that was beat up, left for dead, to an inn, cares for them there, leaves money for that person to then be cared for several days, and then is willing to come back and pay whatever else is needed. And that, I believe, when I talk about compassion, that is what I mean. Because, kindness is, okay, yeah, let's help him up. Let's help, the symptom. Let's, buy the homeless person a sandwich or give them some water. That's kindness. But compassion is getting to know them, finding a way to, if possible, help them to go beyond their current situation, if they are willing to be offered hope and newness in the world. That is compassion. That is loving compassionately. And so that's what I mean when I talk about those things. So please feel free to leave your comments, your questions, from serious to silly. Um, I appreciate all of them, and I thank you all for spending some time with me this morning. Uh, I thank you for those of you who uplift Atlanta and Denver in your prayers this day as we pray for the families who have lost loved ones and for communities who are struggling with these devastating acts. So thank you all for spending this time with me. I pray wherever it is a beautiful day where you are. Take care, everyone. God bless. We'll talk soon.